Let's do this, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Here we are at Washington Reagan. The IKO is KDCA here in Washington, D.C. Today is Monday, November 23rd, and it's the week of Turkey Week, so let's get this flight out of the way so we can get these virtual passengers where they go for their virtual Thanksgiving, in which they are not supposed to be virtually gathering any more than 5 people per household. So we are supporting that here with this JetBlue Flight 318 with service to Boston. Let's get on board. Aircraft is cold and dark. We are in the VATSIM network. I think there's some air traffic control floating around the area, but there is none currently where we're at. So we are going to most certainly do what we need to do to get out of here appropriately using the most effective best practice procedures. FYI, I have flown the E-195, the E-170. I've had this aircraft in my hangar for some time. This is the E-195, a little bit larger version of the E-175 or 170 or even 190. Here we are, we're in it now. Let's get going. Okay, so as you can see, we are cold and dark. That's a problem. Let's go up and get some battery power on the aircraft so that we are not cold and dark. So we'll turn our battery switches here to on. As you can see, our ground power unit or GPU is available. So let's make good use of that. We are also going to arm our emergency lights, put on the non-smoking and fasten seatbelt signs. And of course, for the outside of the aircraft, we need to most certainly turn on our nav light here. The rest up top can stay just as it is. We will have to turn on this electric pump A once we get going. As you can see, the aircraft was just initializing and catching up. This here will be on here in a second. It just takes some time. Again, we've got our initial avionics up. As you can see here, the IRS is automatically aligning, the yaw damper is off, and the steering is off. So systems are coming up. Here we have all of the aircraft's doors. And the PSI of the engines, of course, is going to reflect 0 because they are off, folks. Battery volts over here, left and right batteries. You saw me turn them on. Again, our pressure here for our oil pressure obviously is not going to be anything right now because the engines are off. We need to put our flight number and a whole bunch of information. So let's go ahead and do that now, folks. Jumping down here to the FMS. Let us go ahead and get it initiated. So what we're going to do to start off with, let's double check this screen. We're on 1122.8, which will be the overall Unicom frequency here on the VATSIM network. Now we are in the FMS, and we are most certainly going to do our positioning. So right now we are just going to load this last waypoint, but if you see, they're all the same. So now we're going to get into the route. Okay, so the route here, now that the FMS is continuing to initialize along with the avionics, we are here at DCA or Washington Reagan. It's a lovely airport, been there in real life, it's nice. And we are going to Boston. I like flying into Boston, it's a pretty scenic airport, it's right on the water, love it. We're going to Boston. Our flight number today, again, is going to be Juliet Bravo Uniform 318. Right here on the flight identification number. Then of course we need to go ahead and start getting our route together, so we're not going to activate it yet. First and foremost, we want to go ahead and start putting our waypoints here. Then of course we're going to go in and we're going to be working on our departure and arrival. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and put our waypoints in that we do have, so that we can get that in. So the first one is going to be, which is actually the transition, is going to be Swan. November 2, perfect. Then we're going to go to Bros, which is Bravo Romeo Oscar 2 Sierras. Then after that, we're going to use a Jetway 42. So we'll hit Juliet 42. And then from Juliet 42, we're going to be exiting that at Romeo Bravo Victor. And of course, all these VORs and fixes, they have names that are associated to them. You could go look at them in a flight plan. For example, if you're wondering what is RBV, that's actually a VOR. It's a signal that's emanated from a station, and then navigation information on board is able to pick up that information and direct the aircraft towards that. So for example, again, these little code names that I'm putting here, they all have a name that's attached to it, for those of you who don't know. So for example, RBV actual stands for the Robbinsville VOR. Anyway, just a little education when I first got into the flight simming world, not knowing what I should know, needed to know at the time, I should say. I had to learn all this the rough way, so if I can help out and share that, that's what that is. I encourage you all to learn the difference between a fix, NDB, or if you're using the ADF or a VOR. That's important for you to know. So I just thought I would throw that out there. So that's my public service announcement for the day. So here's our route. So let's activate this for now. But of course, we still need to come in here to the nav, hit departure. It's not going to allow us to do that right now. The primary runways in Washington, D.C. Are several. The main strip of real estate would be runway 1 and runway 19, which our last flight we came in on runway 19. That runway is 7,169 feet long. It is the longest strip, so we are just going to assume that that's what we're taking, because that's going to be the only appropriate runway in which this aircraft could even take off in the first place anyway. So now we just need to double check and see what the winds are. So I'm going to my FlightAware. I'm going to type in the airport, and then we'll look at the METR together so that you guys can really verify if I am actually taking off on the most usable runway. Okay, so here's the METR. I'm going to bring it in. All right. Here's the METR right here for, as you see, DCA or Washington Reagan. Right now it's VFR conditions. Winds are out of basically the north at 12 knots. It's overcast. We got some clouds below 6,000 feet below. It's overcast. We've got 10 miles of visibility though, which is good. It's 9 degrees Celsius, and our altimeter is 3026. So with that information, first thing we want to do, since I'm paying particular attention to the altimeter, we are going to put 3026 just to keep our lives. Oh, that's the wrong one. All right, 3026 is now put in. Let's go back here. And so, based off of our research, now we see that same runway strip of the longest one of 7,169 feet. Instead of landing or taking off on runway 19er, we're going to take off on runway 1. The official heading is 007, which is a offset from the actual wind direction of 330 by, as you already know, about 67 degrees. Okay, so 330 plus, actually, I'm sorry, 70 degrees. So 77 degrees works for us. It's still a little bit of a crosswind, but it is the most usable runway for us. So let's pick runway 1. And now we are going to continue to put the rest of our departure information there, of course. So our departure is on the Suki 4. It's kind of a sexy name, Suki 4. That's us today, guys. There's a transition as promised. Swan, activate that, but we're still not done. Let's go back, go look at our flight plan again to make sure everything is making sense, which it is. Okay, now back to nav. Let's get our arrival situated. Our arrival, we will be arriving on the Roebuck 3, which I've used the Roebuck, and our transition should be JFK right here. The rest of the approach and all that, we're simply going to get that information. If there's air traffic control on the line, online, then we will most certainly adhere to their instructions so that we are not breaking in the rules and we're not getting tased. But if I break the rules, essentially that means you guys break the rules. All right, everything's looking good here. Let's go to the last page, make sure there's no discontinuities, which there absolutely most indubitably are not. Once that's done, now we need to go to our performance, and we need to actually set up our aircraft. So you can go here, and this is our performance initialization page. So first thing you want to do is pay attention to these things here in blue, which are already predetermined by the aircraft, but they can most certainly be altered by us. I don't see anything here wrong. We'll be climbing at 290, which is pretty standard for turbojet aircraft to carry passengers, which is 0.78 Mach. Once we get to a certain altitude, we'll start in leveling out. The plane will accelerate to 0.78 Mach. Descent is the same thing, 290, 0.77 Mach. Whatever, I like it. Let's go ahead and come over here. Now our fuel reserves, okay, that's where you reference the flight plan. So according to the flight plan, our fuel reserves are going to be 5,000 pounds. So essentially, we're going to type in our fuel reserves here, 5,000 pounds. We're going to come over next now. Now here's our transition altitude here in the United States, but our initial cruising altitude needs to be changed to 27,000 feet. That's what we're cruising at today. Here's the winds, here's the zero fuel weight. That's all good. And then of course on this other side here, you can most certainly know that in green here it's indicating right now, according to the latest and greatest information, that at flight level, well actually 10,000 feet, it's not in the flight levels where we would say that, the winds are out of the north still at 0 degrees. So now we need to confirm this. However, we still need to come back over to the menu and put our takeoff information in. Give me 2 seconds, folks. It's going to take me actually to pull this out of your way. I need to pull up a rusty dusty guide that comes with this aircraft so that we can appropriately know what our zero fuel weight is and our current weight, our gross weight of 99,512 pounds, which you see in the bottom right of the FMS. I need to figure out what our rotation speed, our climb out speed, and all that good stuff is. So in order to do that, we have to go into the manual. And in order for me to find the manual, I have to go into the folder of the downloaded aircraft. And let's see here. Where is it at? Plugins, objects, liveries. Oh, I know where it's at. They put it all in a standard documents folder. I just found it. And it will include all aircraft. So I believe I need this AOM file, which I do, and I'll show it to you guys here. I'm just I haven't flown this aircraft, or I've never flown this aircraft online, but I have flown, like I said, the E-170. So let's make this a little bigger, folks. Okay, so right now this is information for takeoff. For now, here's for the E-195, but as you can see, it's shared. There's the E-170. So we need to go. The aircraft is at capacity today. We'll also be looking at this trims. So if you look at the poundage here, tow the pounds right at 99, and depending on where the CG is at, we'll use this too. This is going to determine how much we're pitching up, pitching down, what we need to do for our takeoff pitch. No worries there. So in the meantime, we do know, let's take a look again. Okay, so bottom right of the FMS, 99,512 pounds. So 99,208 looks pretty good. What we're gonna do, because there is, what's that, 99? We'll just, normally you would round up, but we're not gonna round up to use these figures. So we're just gonna go ahead and use these figures right here, okay? So that's what I'm gonna be using to put this information in. If you're gonna be saying, hey, what is he doing? Where's he getting this information from? I just wanted to show you guys that, generally just because I'm a nice guy. Okay, so now we're gonna come back over here into our menu. Oh, I'm sorry, we're gonna come back over here into the nav. And actually, you know what? We need to actually come back to perf, and then we need to come over here and we need to go to takeoff. So we're gonna go to takeoff. Kind of puts us back into this performance page, but now this is just referencing, and you can see the wind is changing, so it's about 10 knots right now. This is actually referencing, and see, there's a runway heading of 7. Only our takeoff information. So we are taking off flaps 2 because we are heavy. And we're going to now put those speeds in that we saw. So our V1 speed, okay, which is a committal speed. Once you get to V1, it's like, all right, I am taking off. It's 139. Your V rotate is when you actually pull back on the flight controls to allow the aircraft to pitch up to 10 degrees. V2 is a safe climb out speed, meaning at 142 knots, this aircraft with the configuration that we have it in will be able to safely get altitude or lift at 142 knots after you rotate. And then of course the VFS is the speed in which we should be continuing to cruise and climb, and there should be no flaps out, or we should start reducing our flaps at this period. So we have, and if you see here, our takeoff pitch is 11. So now that it has indicated to us that our takeoff pitch at this weight should be 11, now we've got to use that chart, which I will bring back in. Okay, so now we're back in this chart here. Again, we're at 99,028. This is what we use, and we're at pitch trim 11. If you can see here, it's not a perfect science. There is no 11. So if you see 2.2 to 2.1, the disparity between 10 and 12, so that tells us that we should put our up to maybe even 2.1 up. But you know what? It's close enough. We're going to use 2.2. I'm going to live on the edge today. Not going to be exactly perfect. So we're going to go up to 2.2. So here's what we do. Now that we know we need to go up 2.2 on the pitch, we have ground power. So now we have to turn this electric pump hydraulic A on. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find our pitch settings. So essentially we need to zone in over here. So our pitch now is not down, it's up 2.2. So as you can see, the up already came up. It'll say, so you have to stop every now and then so you get an indication that your elevator trim is moving. All right, folks, so officially, as you see here, it's up 2.2 based off of that charting. Just to let you know, today's flight requires 11,500 pounds of fuel. At my discretion, I added another roughly 1,000 pounds of fuel, so we're at 12,404 pounds of fuel. Everything else is off, flaps are up and clean, and the APU's not on or anything like that, so we're good to go. However, because we are not flying online, we will most certainly be able to handle this all on our own. Of course, we're not flying online, so normally you would adhere to the departure, but meaning you would adhere to speeds and altitudes at certain waypoints. But again, the beauty of no air traffic control online is we're going all the way up to flight level 270. I'll check to see if there's any air traffic control on again right before I leave. We'll do that together. So now we're at flight level 270. I would normally hit this flight director, but you can see the magenta cross arrows. That means the flight director is already activated. Okay. And as you can see here, look at this yellow part right here. That means we are online. Here's another aircraft, American Airlines 897. He is here as well, flying on the VATSIM network. Like I said, again, as promised, let's pull that in. And let's see if we have any coverage here. So here is the coverage map. We are flying online. We are taking off of DCA, so it looks like we do actually have some type of air traffic control that we do need to adhere to. Since I've been on here talking with you wonderful folks, let me go ahead and get that frequency. Let's go ahead and connect with them and do everything that we're supposed to do. All right, so our approach is actually covering from a different airport, so I'm not sure if they're covering our area, so I'm not necessarily sure if we even need to use them, because this approach is essentially for Washington Dulles Airport. Even though I'm in the purview, you know, I don't know if they will be controlling us, because they're simply the approach and departure for Washington Dulles. You know what? I think I'm just going to do our thing and not even adhere to it. Actually, let's call them and just make sure that we don't need to communicate with them. 1261. Let's type that in the radio now. And then we'll get some lights on. This stuff here is kind of dark. So let's type in 126.1. Put it in the standby. And we'll give them a call here and see exactly what they say. If they say no problem, then we'll just go back to our Unicom and leave it that way. In the meantime, let's get some of these lights on here. I'm not liking how dark it is in here. I don't know if this is going to make any difference on these panel lights. Let's see, bright, dim. That doesn't even work. That's not even modeled here. So now here's one thing we need to pay attention to: is the parking brake up or down? Parking brake is up. Now it was down prior. Normally the aircraft has chocks and stuff like that, so I'm not tripping on that in the least at all. Let me go down here and just see if there's displays, MFD, personal panel. I really do want to get some more lighting down here, but it may not be possible. Let's see here. Washington Dulles approach. JetBlue 318 over here at Boston. Just a quick question. Are you a controller that's going to cover us, or do we just stay on Unicom?
JetBlue 318 Potomac. Are you on the ground at DCA?
Oh, that's affirmative.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't cover DCA. I only cover Dulles and Baltimore.
Okay, roger that. I figured that, but I figured I'd check with you just in case, so I didn't get put in timeout. So I appreciate it, and have a great day, sir.
Thanks for checking. You have a good one.
You too, brother. Alright, folks, so as you can see, that's not necessary for us to control him, but because this network is a free network and sometimes you don't know who's controlling who or who you're supposed to contact, it's better to do it that way versus, like I said, getting put in timeout. You don't want to do that. Because we don't have to worry about him, we are most certainly going to go ahead and let's put our APU on really quick. So as you can see here, ground power unit is all been connected. So to turn on the APU, or the alternate power unit, okay, I'm gonna turn it to on, turn it to start, and let it do its thing. One thing I love about this APU, you don't have to go on and do a whole bunch of stuff other than turning on the APU bleed. And then if you want to monitor the APU coming up after you start it, you can see here that the APU is now at 100%. Bleed APU valve is open. So what that means is the APU valve is automatic on this aircraft. Normally you have to open your bleeds and your isolation valves by itself, but in this aircraft you don't. So now that we have that going on, the APU's going on, we want to put the APU generator on. So by doing that, it automatically did it. As you see, it's saying GPUs available. So by cutting the APU on, this aircraft is cool. It automatically tied the bus to and put the APU generator on, and it disconnected that. So let's go ahead and disconnect our GPU. This is just a little interface that you use here, and just simply unclick that and come over here. Again, you can see some information about this aircraft here in terms of how we loaded it up. This little panel, obviously in real life, is not going to be whatever it is. It's not this. This is just a functional piece for this aircraft and being a simulator pilot. Now that that is taken care of, let us go ahead and put on our red beacon light to let folks know that we are getting ready to push back. Let's go outside, because in this aircraft, better pushback doesn't really work. As you can see, we're at gate 26, which the real aircraft does leave from gate 26. And I'm just checking behind us to see how we're going to push back. So essentially, I'll just do us a nice little pushback. I'll be in the cockpit, so I'll essentially wait for the cockpit to be parallel with this marking here, and then we'll consider that good. You guys are going to see what I'm talking about. What is this guy talking about? Let me show you how we do this. So to engage tow, release parking brake. So let's do that. Parking brake is released. We're going to engage the tow, and now we are going to go aft. Alright, and this thing's moving us pretty quick. Let's look out that window, because as I said, once we get pretty much parallel to this back here, that's going to give us enough room to go ahead and make our right turn to go out this way. Once again today, folks, we have a full complement of passengers. You can't see them, but we can come in the back really quick and just see that the aircraft is most certainly moving back. Over here is that waypoint, so we should essentially stop. But here's our full, nice, big, long aircraft. Back up to the front, and let's go ahead and stop this now. All right. Now let's disengage the tow. Parking brake is back up. Now we can get ready to go. We got clear. See, we're pretty much parallel here as promised, and we can make our nice little right turn to taxi out for runway 1. So in the meantime, let's get our engines going. So in order to do that, it's very simple. Once again, in this aircraft, you want to make sure everything is down, speed brakes are up, everything is good, and of course parking brake is up and observed. So now this is very easy, folks. You're just going to come over here. We're going to take this dust cover or this protection cap off. On over to start. Once that's done, the cap will put itself back. So let's go up to the engine panel, and you can see here the engine is coming up, the ignition's on, that engine's stable, and as promised, the dust cover closes up.
American 897 taxi runway 1, crossing 4 at Juliet, DC.
On over, starting that engine, and pretty soon we'll be talking to that guy because we're taxiing literally to the same runway. So let's monitor that coming up. Okay. And our taxi is essentially a super easy taxi. We're going to taxi Juliet all the way down. So we'll get on Kilo for a hot minute, but then it turns to Juliet, so no worries there. All right, that engine is up and running. Let's come up to the top. And now that that engine is running, we need to make sure our generators have automatically connected. So the batteries are on. Our packs are automatically going to come on. So now what we can do is just monitor everything up here. Batteries are on. Here's our generator here, and we got our electric pump A on, and everything else looks good because the rest of the generators are automatic. So all we need to do now is just simply turn off the APU. Once the APU is turning off, it's also going to indicate that on here it'll start cooling down. Okay, you see the APU is off, parking brake set, APU shutting down, APU fuel doors closed, steering is off. So now essentially we just need to get this into the map location. As you can see here, now we have a nice little route in there. I like everything here. We'll put the terrain and weather radar, we'll put that in the air. And then of course we need to make sure our TCAS is on. Now we'll have the TCAS on, and this is our little route. Now if you see here, this says VOR1. That is a problem, folks. So we need to come up here, change that to FMS. So now this will follow this. Okay, so if you don't do that, it would have been following the nav1 radio, and essentially when you click autopilot and hit nav, your aircraft's not going to know where it needs to go. So finally, we need to go ahead and put our aircraft into the rejected takeoff in case we have to do exactly that. And you notice here, I just set the flaps to 2. See that? I just set the flaps to 2, so hopefully I'm just gonna let them know we're taxi Kilo 2 Juliet for runway 1. Folks, my daughter's always asking me why I say all right, folks, but that's just my thing. So folks, we are ready to go. MCP is all set up. We've got our barometric pressure set up correctly. We've got our flaps set, projected takeoff. We have 27,000 feet. The only last thing actually we need to do is put this to 7 because that is the runway heading. Washington Reagan traffic. JetBlue 318 here at gate 26 will be taxiing to runway 1 via Kilo 1 Juliet for Washington Reagan traffic. All right. Parking brake is released. One thing we do need to do in this aircraft, you got to come right here, tap that for the steering. Now we do have to keep an eye out for this aircraft because he is most certainly taxiing as well. In which he has not departed yet.
Traffic American 897 departing runway 1, Reagan.
Have a great flight, American. All
Thanks,
right.
you too.
Appreciate it, brother. All right, so a little, cross talk for the pilot chatter. All right. So we'll just continue to Cruise right here. We're on Kilo. We need to slide one taxiway over. You can see the American aircraft taking off. See him down there in the distance. Alright, we're going to use Golf really quick just to pick up Juliet. And now we are officially on Juliet. You can see him lining up. Alright. Nice easy taxi there. Switch my view a little bit back. Alright. There he goes. So we'll make sure we give ourselves enough spacing. Meantime, as we taxi, let's look left. We're crossing another runway here. We want to make sure that nothing's going on there. Alright, now we need to make sure we're putting the aircraft into the nav mode. Alright. Let's continue to cruise right along here. Alright. Nice and easy. Washington Reagan traffic, JetBlue 318 will be lining up for runway 1. Alright. Let's go ahead and get our lights on. Gonna get our strobe on, of course. We'll do strobe and of course our landing lights. Alright. We got all that squared away. We are good for takeoff. All lights up there are on, look good. Wallet, Washington Reagan traffic, JetBlue 318, runway 1 takeoff for Washington Reagan traffic. All right, folks. Line up appropriately. Takeoff power is set. I'm getting the crosswind, using a little bit of right rudder. Keep it somewhat decent on the runway.
V2.
Alright. Pull back a little bit. My remote likes to positive rate. Gears coming up. Alright. So now we'll go for flaps up. And we can, of course, hit the autopilot. And we're going to go for our flight level change. And we are accelerating. And of course, if we come here and we put this in the VNAV, now the aircraft is going to follow the VNAV protocols and keep us all on course. Here's we're going slightly up into a cloud layer here. We're speeding a little bit. We should only be at about 250 or below 10,000. You can see the aircraft is bleeding that speed. And we have a pretty aggressive climb, and we are staying on track. Not complaining though. You know, not complaining. So it looks like here the pitch is working just fine using the vertical navigation. Let's come down here real quick and let me check something else out I love about this aircraft. I'm trying to get past this, there we go. I could remove it, but we'll leave it there. So what I like about this aircraft too, you have a vertical profile here. So essentially what this is doing, this green line here is basically indicating this is how the aircraft is pitched up right now. This path right here is the prescribed, desired ascent on our path, and these points, even though they look linear, which actually they are right now, there's no turns, but even if there was a turn, it would still look linear here. Just indicate your altitude where you should be at each given point. So the green line and the magenta line should perfectly be matching up at each point, meaning that the aircraft is pitching up so it can catch this point at the right point. Essentially the green line and the magenta line would marry up together. Let's go back real quick and take a look and see what the actual passengers are doing. Alright, it all looks copacetic back here. Nice stable flight. It appears the virtual passengers have no clue that the pilot is rusty at flying his plane. But they shouldn't know that simply because we don't want them to freak out. So for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our climb. We got less than 2,000 to go to be at our cruising altitude, and conditions seem to be fairly calm, so it should be a great day for flying. Hopefully we got a nice, easy route. You can hear the indicator letting us know that we have less than 1,000 to go.
JetBlue 318, contact Boston Center 134.7, good night.
Over to Boston Center 134.7. You have a good night as well for JetBlue 318. .7.
Now Boston Center, JetBlue 721. Any chance for direct Yazoo or Zivvy? Sorry, Jetic. Looking for direct Jetic. Sure, direct Jetic. Direct Jetic for JetBlue 721.
Good evening, Boston Center, JetBlue 318, checking in flight level 270.
318 Boston Center, roger. Civil 318, maintain level 230.
Down to flight level 230, JetBlue 318.
Boston, hello, JetBlue 868 flight level, 17,000 feet.
To 868 Boston Center, anything climate tape level 210, just confirm your direct merit.
Maintain 210 and affirm beyond direct merit, JetBlue 16.
Positive at the Minimum Airport. Request IFR clearance to Sky.
Golf, contact network approach 128.12.
Decimal 82 for November 5601 Golf. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye bye.
At 503 wind airspace to the west. Frequency change approved.
JetBlue 318, reduce speed 190.
190 on the speed for JetBlue 318.
Skylines 1455, descend and maintain 7,000.
Alright, now we got this about to 5. We're going to continue to fly this heading until he gives us something, but then we'll turn and activate our ILS, which, let me refresh myself, is it a localizer on here or approach? Okay, so essentially we are just going to hit this button. There is no separate localizer button. Sorry guys, just refreshing myself here. This certainly has been an interesting approach. Okay, so let's do a little planning. Hopefully he doesn't start talking to us. Okay, so we're going to land here on runway 27. We're landing here on runway 27, which means...
Skyline 1455, turn.
And our gate is over here. So this ought to be interesting. Oh, that's a very short runway. Alright, let's see what's going on here. It's getting a little choppy. It's a little bumpy out here.
Air 490, proceed direct Marconi.
We're going to put the aircraft into a medium
JetBlue
braking.
868, reduce speed 210. JetBlue 868, you're descended below.
We're getting a lot of wind here. Over the water.
The star there, maintain 6,000.
6,000, JetBlue 868.
Boston departure, Air Kios 1073.
Alright.
Coming out of 1,400.
Air Kios 1073, Boston departure, radar contact, climb and maintain 14,000.
14,000, Air Kios 1073.
Super bumpy. Alright, he should be giving us a turn here.
Nantucket, Care 490.
Boston approach, keep your
Care 490, I'll have to coordinate that standby.
He's going to give us a turn here in a second.
Boston approach,
JetBlue 318, depart Hawk 2, heading 360.
Depart Hawk 2, heading 360, JetBlue 318.
Approach 573 with
Alright,
you,
so...
descend at 5,000 with you.
Care 490, proceed direct Nantucket.
we are going to do exactly that.
Care 490, proceed direct Nantucket.
Direct Nantucket, Care 490.
Guys, if I have to say this multiple times, it's not going to work. Care 490, proceed direct Nantucket.
Direct Nantucket, Care 490.
JetBlue 318, turn left heading 360.
Left 360, JetBlue 318.
Keep it 573 with you at 5,000.
Skylines 1455, Boston.
Skylines 1455, go ahead. Boston approach, good evening. This is KPA 573 with you at 5,000. Boston approach, good evening.
So essentially the heading was at 360, but it's offset because of the wind. So I'm essentially looking at this heading. So we're 3601, we're right on course. So he should be giving us a turn here.
Hey, November 2829 Whiskey, Boston approach, turn right heading 180.
Turn right heading 180, November 2829 Whiskey.
JetBlue 318, turn left heading 300, join the localizer.
F300, join the localizer, 27. JetBlue 318.
JetBlue 868, traffic, 1 o'clock, 2 miles southbound, a twin set, correction, a Baron at 5,000.
We have him side JetBlue 868.
Air Kios 3, Boston departure.
Air Kios 3, Meow, climbing to 2,200.
Radar contact, climb maintain 14,000.
Maintain 14,000, Air Kios 3.
JetBlue 318, reduce the final approach speed.
On to final approach speed, JetBlue 318.
Care 573, Boston.
Alright.
KB 572, go ahead.
Care 573 to Boston, altimeter 299 38, information, Lima's current, expect visual approach runway 32.
Expect the visual approach on the 32, KB 573.
November 29 Whiskey, turn right heading 250, turn the localizer. 250, turn to localizer, November 2829 Whiskey. JetBlue 868, you turn for the wrong runway again, turn right heading 060 to maintain 5,000.
Right 060 down to 5,000, JetBlue 868.
Boston approach, Dare 44 with you, 7,000, departing wounds.
Dare 44 Boston,
Flaps
approach 4 to
1.
Boston, altimeter 299 38, information, Lima's current, expect a visual approach runway 32.
We are direct loaner.
Expect the visual 32, Dare 44.
JetBlue 318, it's not going to work for timing, cancel approach, or correction, turn left heading 180, I'll get you back around.
Left 180 for JetBlue 318.
Skyline's 1455, turn right heading 180 to maintain 3,000. Heading 180 to maintain 3,000, Skyline 1455.
Oh.
Kios 1073, contact Boston Center 134.7, good day.
134.7, we'll see.
So we're doing left 180 just because he didn't like our approach.
November 2829 Whiskey, 3 miles from Rippet. Maintain 2,000 until established. Clear ILS runway 27 approach. Best forward speed. Maintain 2,000 for ILS runway 27. November 2829 Whiskey.
So, like I said, very interesting approach.
Did you give us a descent out of 7 or no?
Dare 44 negative. JetBlue, break JetBlue 318, turn left heading 090.
090 on the heading, JetBlue 318.
JetBlue
Part
568,
of the
why are you
problem, this
descending?
plane is bouncing around, and so to get
Correction,
this is a
JetBlue
simulator problem.
868, you were given
to
maintain
get
6,000.
to turn this knob, sometimes it's dancing around. You can't get it. Again, simulator problems. Alright, so we got our turn, we got 090.
JetBlue 868, just maintain 5,000.
So basically we're just making a circle.
Maintain 5,000, JetBlue.
We'll keep our flaps down.
Number 29 Whiskey, contact Boston Tower 128.8.
Nothing to reference ourselves
Tower 128.8,
out there since it's so bumpy.
2829 Whiskey. Care 490, contact Boston Center 134.7. 134.7, Care 490. Bear 44, turn right heading 070 to maintain 6,000.
Right, 070 and down to 6, Dare 44.
JetBlue 318, turn left heading 360.
Left 360, JetBlue 318.
JetBlue 868, speed 170. Skyline's 1455, speed 170. 170, 1455. November 64305, contact Boston, approach 124.9er. 124.9er, just a quick pilot from picking up a little icing at 5,000 for 64305. Understood, thanks.
Alright, we're on heading.
JetBlue 318, turn left heading 300 to maintain 3,000.
Down to 3,000, left 300, JetBlue 318.
Skyline 1455, turn right heading 200. 200, Skyline 1455. JetBlue 868, turn right heading 090.
Right heading 090, basically.
Care 573 for traffic, turn right heading 140 to maintain 4,000.
What's up, dude? 0 and down to 4,000, KB 573.
Air KFC, requesting higher.
Air Kios 3, contact Boston Center 134.7.
34.7, thank you.
All right. So we've got our localizer armed. So let's see if
Air
this works.
44 at the Boston Airport at your 11 o'clock, 2 miles reported in sight.
Air 44 has the field in sight. We're going to bring the speed back now.
Air 44 understood, clear visual approach, runway 32.
Clear visual 32, Air 44.
JetBlue 868, turn left heading 360.
So the runway's right over here.
Care 573, your traffic to follow now, 9 o'clock, 3 miles northeastbound at TDM at 6,000 reported in sight.
Traffic at KP 573.
Care 573, follow that traffic, clear visual approach, runway 32.
Get a visual approach, we'll follow traffic. KP 573.
Skyline 1455, I'm going to send you through the localizer here for just a second. Turn right, heading 300, join the localizer. 300, join the localizer, 1455. Skyline 1455, reduce the final approach speed.
All right.
Boston, Air 44, Sim froze, we got to disconnect.
Looking
Sorry,
good.
See ya.
Let's go down here. Radio 113, 113. Oh, that's looking good.
Who's disconnecting?
The T-band disconnected.
Understood.
Now this is indicating our glide slope and our lateral
JetBlue
limits.
318, 2 miles from Loner, maintain 3000 until established, clear ILS runway 27 approach.
Maintain 3000 until established on the localizer for ILS 27 approach, JetBlue 318.
Skyline 1455, 3 miles from Clane, maintain 3000 until established, clear ILS runway.
See, what
27
concerns
approach.
me, this is still not moving.
Maintain 3000 until established,
So,
clear ILS
that tells me we need to switch our nav source to nav 1. Let me see if that says nav 1, FMS 1.
JetBlue 868, turn left heading 300, join the localizer.
Left 300 for localizer, please. 68.
Aircraft calling Boston approach, you're unreadable, you need to adjust your microphone. Boston approach, 210. Yeah, you're unreadable, I can't hear you with all the static. Yeah, your microphone so that it's within the green band. Whatever, that's November 211 Juliet Whiskey. The information claim is current to Boston, altimeter 29903, expect the ILS runway 27 approach.
Now let's see. Now we're established.
JetBlue 868, reduce the final approach speed.
Final approach is actually 68.
All right, folks.
JetBlue 868,
We are established
5 miles from
on the localizer and the glide slope. Again, part of that was my problem. So what had to happen, the reason why it didn't connect last time, this cannot be following the FMS. You essentially have to put this V/L for localizer.
128.8.
128.8, thank you very much.
So now it's all good. We will essentially go ahead now and drop our landing
November
gear.
211 Juliet Whiskey, depart Kleb, heading 360.
Just look for that runway.
Depart Kleb at 360, 211 Juliet Whiskey.
Is the field. Now we are essentially on the localizer. Let's get a good look at the runway and see where it's at.
JetBlue 318, contact Boston Tower, 128.8.
Boston Tower 128, Jet 318. Alright, so over to Boston Tower. Boston Tower, JetBlue 318, ILS 27.
JetBlue 318, Boston Tower, good evening. Traffic is an A321 departing the crosser runway. Additional traffic will be landing the convergent runway 32, wind 32016, runway 27, cleared to land.
27 cleared to land, JetBlue 318. Alright, so we have the runway. Let's go ahead and go gear down. Start reducing our flaps.
573 confirmed.
Flaps
landing
5.
32. Show you lined up at 4 right.
Runway 32, KBA 573.
Alright. And we're going to probably take it manual from here. So let's get rid of that autopilot. Gear is down, flaps are down and checked.
Holding
Alright.
short 4 left, November 2829 Whiskey.
Here we go, folks.
Delta 130, contact departure 133.0.
1000.
November 2829 Whiskey, taxi to Signature via Echo, right turn Bravo, cross runway 4 left. Cross 4 left, Echo in Bravo, November 2829 Whiskey.
It's very windy. Alright, folks, we're just going to float her on in. We're crabbing, as you can see. We're coming into the runway crabbing just because of the wind. Let's see if we can make this touchdown. Very challenging. 100.
Light slow. Light slow. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
All right. There we go. Auto brake is off. Not bad, guys. Not bad. We'll come off over here. Looks like this is... who knows? Didn't get a look at it. Okay, so we're effectively on, looks like Echo. Get some braking action here. Not a bad touchdown. Not a bad touchdown, guys.
Skyline 1455 Boston Tower, wind 32016 from 827, cleared to line.
Cleared.
Alright. That was crazy.
318, walk to Boston, cross runway 48 on Echo, short runway 4 left.
Thank you for that. We'll cross runway 4 right and continue our taxi for JetBlue 318.
Sergeant Blue 868 ILS
Alright,
runway 27.
so we're going to leave all of our lights on. Let's get our flaps cleaned up.
Hold short runway 4 left.
Hold short runway 4 left, KBA 573.
JetBlue 868 Boston Tower, number 2 behind the 737 on the 2 mile final, wind 32016, runway 27,
Alright,
cleared to line.
looking clear. Once we get past here, we'll turn our lights off.
Final runway 27, clear to line, JetBlue 868.
Okay.
JetBlue 318 taxi to the right via Echo Alpha, cross runway 4 left.
Taxi ramp Echo Alpha, cross runway 4 left, 318. Alright, so we've got our taxi instructions. Let's get our lights off. Keep our nose lights on there. Alright, we're just going to continue straight on Echo here. Alright, let's brake here. We're going to be crossing another runway. Lights back on, of course.
Passing wings IFR number 1. Thank you so much.
Left.
November 2829
Right,
Whiskey.
clear that because you do want to do that because it's super busy. Alright.
Carrier 573, cross runway 4 right on Foxtrot, hold short runway 4 left.
Cross on the full left and cross, hold. Can you take it for KP 573?
Yep, 573, cross runway 4 right there, and then hold short runway 4 left.
Okay, we'll hold short runway 4 left, KP 573.
And you can cross the first one, just hold short the second
I
one.
give it to the controllers. They stay super busy.
Skyline 426.
So we're supposed to be
Boston,
looking for
safe
gate
parking.
Charlie.
We're parking at
Supposed to be at gate Charlie 30, I believe.
Skyline 1455, taxi to the ramp via Kilo Alpha, cross runway 4 left.
Alright, Charlie 30 is going to be coming up.
Crossing 4 left, Skyline 1455.
Should be down literally in this area here. So this flight was totally interesting. Very, I mean, it doesn't have the full immersion and realism, of course, as Pilot Edge. However, pretty close, and job well done to the controllers. And they do all this for free. I mean, it is very realistic, don't get me wrong. Of course, Pilot Edge has that additional layer of immersion just because of, you know, how there's is set up for the ATIS and everything is real time. Use real time. Alright, so this is the concourse we're supposed to be at, and I see our gate. And there's no one there,
Taxi.
which is good. There is a American airline there.
Pretty
close.
8, welcome to Boston, taxi to the ramp via Kilo Alpha, cross runway 4 left.
Kilo Alpha cross 4 left, JetBlue 2
November 211 Julie Whiskey, Boston Tower, wind 320 at 16, runway 27, clear to land.
Clear to land, 27, 201 Julia Whiskey.
Centers 930, Papa ready, taxi runway 33 left. Okay, Air 573, sure you stopped up there, or are you gonna get taxi?
Alright, slow her down a little bit.
Continue to taxi, give me 573.
Yeah, so you can taxi straight ahead and just hold short the next runway there. So continue straight and hold short.
Before we do our replay, we're going to definitely come out and take a look at all these aircraft that are floating around here.
Niner 3 Sierra Papa, runway
See how busy
33
it
left
is.
taxi via Bravo, hold short Foxtrot. Go taxi
Alright.
Bravo, hold short Foxtrot, 930
Verify
Sierra Papa.
parking brake is set. Let's come down in here. Let's get our transponder off. And of course, we need to come up here now and get our taxi lights off.
Fifty, 40, 30, 20, 10,